Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Coach Powell's Training and Development Coffee, Tea, You and Me with Coach Powell. And I love to have the opportunity to speak with you all every single Friday around 3 o'clock about this time. If you haven't at this point in time subscribed, liked, shared, do all that stuff you need to do. Make sure that you introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're tuning in from, where you're coming in from. It doesn't matter whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I see my boy Kevin Williams is out there. Good to see you, Coach. Brother Williams. That's nice to have you. Thank you for the birthday wishes. As Kevin indicated, it's been the my birthday week has been since Wednesday. Wednesday was my birthday, and I'll be 59. I'm 59 right now. So I'm on my 59th evolution around the sun, right? So we're looking forward to a wonderful year. I'm glad you're tuning in with us today. We have a special episode for you today. Today we're talking about the importance of collaboration. We're continuing on what we talked about last week. We talked about some strategies, some things that you can do to become a better collaborator, but we didn't talk about the real benefits that true collaborative leaders can hope to experience and what they can deliver to the community in and of that experience. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Not only are we going to talk about the experiences and the benefits of a wonderful collaborator, but we're also going to talk about the connection between collaborative leadership and happiness. And it turns out that there is a very vital connection. And it's something that I think that leaders need to spend more time thinking about as we continue to focus on what it takes to be more successful, what it takes to be happy, what it takes to develop our wellness strategy, and all the things that we need to do to continue to build legacy and continue to build strategic organizations and operations. So let's get right into it. Let's not even take any thing away from it. Now, when you look at benefits, and I often share this with people when I talk about why it's important to talk about the benefits of any idea or any topic you're talking about. Benefits often are most of the most compelling things that happen as a result of accomplishing or doing or achieving or experiencing anything you want, right? And you really can't understand the benefits until you kind of experience them. I mean, it's we can talk about benefits a lot, but you need to really think through what it means and what it might mean to you to have these benefits for you. So that's what I want you to think about as I give you the benefits of becoming a more collaborative leader. I want you to think about all five of these benefits and how you may be impacted by experiencing these benefits. Because when you understand the benefits that you're looking for, that you're trying to get, then it's much easier for you to embark upon a strategy or any type of technique that might help you get to the things that you're trying to get to. So studies show, and if you look at anything from Forbes or in Task Manager or Mural, these are all companies that have studied these kinds of connections deeply, and I pulled a lot from the research from them. When it comes to the five benefits of collaborative leadership, they are simple to probably understand, but not so simple to get to, right? Um, and the subtleties might elude people. And so we're going to try to get into some of those benefits and the subtleties of them on today's topic. Okay, so the first thing that happens when you become a more collaborative leader that knows how to foster an environment where there's teamwork and shared decision making and mutual respect, all of these things drive tremendous amount of success, right? And the values that really drive these ideas um, revolve around having a diverse perspective. They revolve around encouraging open communication. They revolve around promoting collective problem solving. And the first thing that we're going to talk about and share with you today is that it's one of the key benefits. I love this benefit, is it enhances team morale and engagement. So what do we mean by that? When you have truly embraced and incorporated collaborative leadership styles into the things that you get to do in the communities you develop, the teams you work through, what happens is people feel so good about belonging and being a part of it that they are more engaged. They are more likely um, to step up and feel because they feel heard, they feel valued, they're more motivated to continue their work, right? So even during rough patches, and there always are going to be rough patches in anything that humans beings endeavor to do, right? You're going to want to have that resilience. And collaborative leaders are able to do that because people feel like they're part of something. They feel special. They feel belong. They feel like they feel connected. They feel heard and they feel valued. Right? It's super, super important. That kind of morale that makes people not just want to engage, but want to go deep with that engagement is what we're getting at here. And it takes a really, really um, motivated leader, right, to really, really help people unlock those intrinsic values that they have to unlock that keeps them going and keeps them motivated and committed to their work. The second thing that happens, you know, as even the team morale gets boosted and engagement levels get boosted, the second thing that happens is there's also a tremendous increase in innovation and creativity, right? Because now it's not just the lone wolf idea that's out there presenting all the ideas, presenting all the strategy. The collaboration alone allows for a mix of ideas, right? There's going to be ideas coming from every perspective on the team. So literally, the more diverse the team, the more you have different perspectives on the team from different areas and different departments and across, organizational, what might be considered silos in organizations. As you begin to break those silos apart and really look for ideas that challenge the total mission of your organization or the total vision of your program, you're going to have a mix of ideas coming from all these different places, right? And this is going to lead to more innovative solutions to strategies, to structures, to programmatic concepts on how you're going to um, deal with any type of issue moving forward, right? So just because you have systems in place doesn't mean they're always the most innovative and most uh, creative systems. And sometimes you have to leave room for the space for those new ideas to show up. And you have to know how to get that increased drive to be better and to offer more creative solutions to the similar problems. You don't have to do everything that's brought to the table, but when you see and understand everything, you get to select from those ideas and concepts, and your team gets to select from those ideas and concepts that work best for them. Sometimes it's situational times when those things happen. So, you want to be very careful to always leave space in the execution of whatever you do to hear those ideas and to really have a space for those ideas to show up. The third thing that happens when you really have increased this collaborative leadership style and maxed it out is you have much stronger relationships and trust in and amongst the team, not just with the leader, but with the team members that are also a part of the collaborative process in the communities that you develop in the organizations, and the relationships become stronger. Why? Because there's in those kinds of relationships where there's true collaboration, you have to have open communication, right? You cannot have a closed decision model and develop strong relationships and trust, because when people don't feel like they have any input to what the team creates, they don't have any enough meaningful contribution that is shared amongst the members of the team that everybody else can see and respect, then it's very difficult for people to feel comfortable um, sharing the trust that they have to share, and developing the level of safety that needs to be developed in order for everybody to feel good at bringing their best decisions, their best ideas, their best communication, their best everything to the table. Basically, the safer the environment becomes, the more people will give to that same environment. More people will share more of themselves, more of their talent, more of their time, more of their treasure with that environment. So let's just recap. You're going to have enhanced team morale and engagement. You're going to increase innovation and creativity, and you're going to have stronger relationships, and trust. But none of this works well. In fact, this next level of um, increase when it comes to the benefits of collaborative leadership, number four, is impossible to have without the previous three ideas. Like you're not going to have improved productivity by just cracking the whip and using the carrot and stick programs and processes and making the promises of a benefit that at the end of whatever. You're not going to have that, that ease of improved productivity unless people have all the things we talked about earlier, right? But on top of that, teams begin to work together more efficiently, and that means they complete the tasks faster, sometimes with better results. And that's what literally improves the productivity. But again, without stronger relationships, without innovation and creativity, without good team morale and engagement, you're not going to get that kind of improvement, especially continuous improvement. It's not going to happen in your organization, your team. So you have to do everything you can as a leader to make sure that you have operational strategies that are streamlined and that you have techniques and programs and processes that offer the best, most innovative processes in order to move things forward, and that people can see the systems that you're working with and can and they know effectively how to use them and to get the best results together collectively. And when that happens, everybody feels good. You can see the improvement in the productivity, and you can feel as palpable, I should say, the results, right? The last piece that's important to understand when it comes to developing more collaborative leadership is this notion, number five, of psychological safety. Okay, as I said earlier, all of these ideas are stacked upon each other, and you cannot have psychologically safe environments where people don't feel comfortable expressing their thoughts or their feelings without fear, all right, without judgment, all right, because when this happens, it leads to better outcomes. It leads to a more healthy, well-rounded work environment for everybody, right? So you always want to, make sure that you're doing all that you can to make sure that people don't feel like their ideas don't matter or they don't matter. Their work effort doesn't matter. Their contribution isn't appreciated. And so you have to find ways. And I think it's important because sometimes leaders, at least leaders I've experienced in my working relationships, sometimes get to be a bit, too focused on outcomes and not enough focus on people or process. And when you focus strictly on outcomes and you measure just by the end result, then you don't see often the small little tweaks and adjustments that could be made in the processes and the systems. You don't see when you need to add just another couple of attaboys or way to go kind of comments in the team or within the individuals on the team to make sure that they feel good, or even stop them and call the workplace halt sometimes, pull people away from the process every once in a while and just catch up on them and see what's going on with them, how they're doing. Do a wellness check, not just how can I get you to do more work, check, but an actual wellness check about, how are you feeling, what's going on with your life, what's working well for you, what's not working well for you, how can we create and actually the desire to create a more psychologically safe environment can drive a lot of activity as a leader. And so developing that desire means you're saying to yourself and to your team, I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel safe expressing your ideas and your thoughts. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to punish you for, anything that you might say when it comes to, helping us become a better team or helping our processes increase or creating a better environment for other members of the team, including yourself, right? Because everybody's involved. So it's super, super important that you have these kinds of levels of communication. Or if you don't, then you're going to find that there's a difficulty making the connection. And finally, I think all of it matters greatly in this pursuit that we're trying to come up with when it comes to happiness. You know, all the things we talked about earlier are closely aligned with the essential elements of happiness. And those essential elements really, really are all about developing more positive emotions, right? Supportive and inclusive workplace fosters joy and satisfaction. So the more you are as a leader, the more you find ways to support your team members, both personally and professionally, the more inclusive you are in terms of helping them understand what's going on, right? As soon as you hear something sort of from above in terms of leadership of the organization or the teams or everything you're working with, the faster you're able to communicate and translate that information back to your team, especially that the stuff that matters most to them, the faster you're going to help them have more joy, more agreement, more satisfaction in what they do. And you're going to want to make sure that, you help them see the best opportunities to move forward constantly. Now, not saying that there's not going to be negative things that happen or negative things that are said, right? You don't want to be the author of those negative things often. All right. You want to be most often the author of the most positive, engaging, inspiring ideas and thoughts, and you want to share them liberally with your with you don't want to be said that you just a sourpuss or you're bringing negative news all the time. Every time they engage with you, all they hear from you is something that is basically more stressful and less enlightening and less um, supportive of what they are doing, right? The next part of being happiness is that, creating that good life feeling, right? That engagement and that flow. Psychologists, positive psychologists have studied this for years, understanding that when your team is really, really working and they're experiencing deep engagement and they're connected and collaborating well with one another, there is a high level of emotional engagement at that point in time, and that engagement is called flow state. What happens is people get so connected and they get so involved, they get so used to doing what they're doing, they actually have a break with a sense of timeliness. People forget they're hungry, they forget they're tired, they forget that, what the clock says. They're just too busy cranking it out. And sometimes as a leader, you have to slow them down and stop them, you know, because they're not going to naturally come to that point where they want to stop, where they want to disengage from whatever flow state that they're in because it feels so good and it worked and it's so good, it's so well that human beings have this way of creating this extra uh, gear, this extra energy that can happen as a result of it. You won't be able to take advantage of flow state, but you also want to make sure that people do not overwork themselves or overstress themselves unknowingly, right? So make your plan the plan, keep to the plan, keep to the plan breaks, keep to the plan vacations, keep to the plan, renewal points. Make sure you have those in your process. The last thing that's the most important part of happiness when it comes to all the things you talked about earlier is understanding there's meaning, right? There's meaningful activities that make life worthwhile. Like it causes purpose and connection. And sometimes, and I'll have to say this is true, you could get so deeply engaged with people on something that you're doing in the work world that it overwhelms everything else that you're doing, right? Because you get such a sense of meaning and connection and purpose from that thing. But you need to realize, and everybody needs to realize, that there are many roles that we all get to play in our lives. And we have to ask ourselves in the moments that we're in, what role are we identifying with in this moment? And how can we get the most out of that role in the moment that we're in so that we're not shortchanging others who need us in the places and times when they need us um, because we're so busy connecting to the thing that just makes us feel good all the time. And it could easily be work. If the work is fulfilling, if the work is engaging, if the work causes you to experience a ton of positive emotions, it's easy to stay connected to it and kind of overdo it. and you want to guard against that as a leader. You want to help your people develop, you know, better work-life balance. I don't like the word balance as much as I like the word alignment, but that's all that out there is super, super positive and super engaging. So I'm going to go through the top 5 um, benefits of becoming a collaborative leader just one more time as we close out today. We're going to have a pretty short show today. Um, but number one is when you really truly get this, you have enhanced team moral, enhanced team morale and engagement. Number 2, you increase innovation and creativity. Number 3, you have stronger relationships and trust. Number 4, there's a big improved productivity. And number 5, you increase psychological safety. And the better you do at all these things, the more you're going to drive mutual respect to your organization, the more you're going to drive shared decision making amongst your team, right? The more you're going to foster an environment where teamwork is so important. That happens when there's more diversity, that happens when there's better communication, and it happens when the problem solving is collective. Having said all of that, I'm going to close out with today's ideology and thought processes. So good to see you, all of you all out there. I see my girl Tracy Woods is out there. My boy Kevin's out there. Thank you very much for your comment. Um, the right talent. That's funny. Kevin, Tracy has some good questions here. I think I'm gonna take a stab at some of these. Tracy asked the question: how do you find the right talent for the community you're building? And it's funny you should ask because I think sometimes people have a problem with broadcasting their vision and their mission, but unless people understand the vision and the mission, then that's actually the most attractive glue to whatever you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do. The more you broadcast and the more you put out there with blogs and community statements or whatever you got going on, the more you share with your network, and you as you're building your network and you're creating your network, the more you share with your network, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is what we're about. And then the more they have the opportunity then to fall in love with that thing and to opt in or out of whatever it is you're doing. And I love this when it comes to the concept of networking. And I'll tell you why that is so important. Because the people in your network, if they know what you're up to and why you're up to whatever it is that you're up to, they feel really good about sharing that idea or those thought process with others. And they know that you're not going to mind because you're going to give them permission to do so. And then you can use your network to help you grow your network, right? It doesn't always have to be, you have an RFP to respond to, or you have a job performance or something to respond, or some kind of job application or something like that to respond to. It really is about to communicating, what your vision and your mission is and where you're going. And as long as it's inspiring and relevant to people, they're going to jump on board. So that's a good reason. That's a good way to start to begin to sort out, you know, um, how you play with other people. Like you're going to be able to attract people to the vision and the mission that you have. And I love that idea. Um, and in that, and that's the second question is very good because I always tell people you need to have criteria of what you need to see from people before you allow them into the deeper um, ideas and concepts in your organization. Like vision and mission, that's for the public, right? That's for everybody, right? But now, as people start to respond to that vision and mission, you know, you're going to want to see how they respond to your strategy. You're going to want them to see how they respond to the techniques, the tactics that you use, and that's when you got to close down the shop, right? Because you can't. That's not for everybody. The first filter is how do you respond to my vision and your mission, right? What do you think? What do you say? How do you show up in that engagement piece where we're really talking and really feeling each other out, right? And then um, you know you're gonna ask that you're gonna see how they're gonna respond to what's next, right? You're not going to reveal your particular strategy or your particular processes or your particular intellectual property and when it comes to how you're going to do things, how do you want to do things, the technology you want to use, and blah blah blah, until you really begin to trust them. So you need a criteria for that. Okay, got past the first filter, now you got to get past the second filter. If you got past the second filter, what pedigree do you have? What relationships do you have that I can recommend or validate that your existence or the quality of your character? And I'm going to want to have some understanding about your values, and I'm going to want to have some understanding about where those values come from. I don't want you to just have values. I want to know where those values come from, and how deeply those values are held. And so I'm going to conduct a series of interviews before you get into the inner layers of things, before I start to reveal the trade secrets or any kind of concepts and so on and so forth. And I'm still not going to ask you a whole bunch of, what can you commit to until I understand who you are, because trust is really, we're talking about developing trust, right? Character and competence. These are the two pillars of trust. You must have them both. If you don't have them, there's only so much you can trust people. And I'm not talking about overall trust. I'm talking about specific trust. Like Tracy asked, how you know the right person is the right talent for you? There's a specific level of of trust that you want to see, and there's a specific measurement that some people are going to be able to earn your trust. And you have to have an idea of the kind of character you need to see from them. And that's why I like how I always like interviewing people in 3 different areas at least. I mean, that's minimum. I'm going to interview you on your turf where you're comfortable. I'm going to interview you on my turf where I'm comfortable. Then I'm going to interview you on neutral turf. And I'm even ask the same questions in different environments, but guess what? The answers are going to be different. And the more we find out, we get to see people from different areas. I'm checking references, and I'm checking whether people have given you testimonials or endorsements. I'm checking your 5-star rating or 4-star rating or whatever that is. I'm looking at your performance reviews from previous situations. I want to know, because in order for me to trust you with my intellectual property or with and this is past the NDAs and all that kind of stuff. In order for me to trust you with my trade secrets and the way I'm going to go about doing the strategy, I'm going to have a lot more information than that surface level stuff that shows up on your resume or on your LinkedIn profile. We're going to have some deep, meaningful conversations, eye to eye, face to face, where I can see your reactions to some very, very important questions, which I plan to ask before I'm going to reveal or share anything that might be hurtful or damaging back to me. I'm going to be vulnerable, yeah, because everybody has to be vulnerable to a certain level. I can't ask someone else to be so vulnerable, and I'm not willing to be vulnerable myself, right? So it's a give and take there. But I'm only going to be so vulnerable before, I'm like, okay, you're not getting into the inner sanctum, right? You're not getting into the inner circle. You're not getting into deep trust without a lot of valuable information. Put it that way. And I think we need to take our time better when we're building teams. I think leaders don't do that sometimes. We work with often who we're assigned, or we just pick people out of a hat, basically because we got to get a project done or something like that. And anytime you're going to work with people you're going to choose a team and you're going to work with them basically out of desperation. Either you don't get to choose the team, or you're in a hurry to choose a team. Then that makes a lot of stress on everybody, because it's hard to build trust in that kind of environment. You need to be able to take your time to fully evaluate, and really take whatever criteria you need to take to make sure that you get. And it can't be, by the way, um, those weed out criterias, right? Like, you have a certain degree, all right, if before you can do blah 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 blah. And I understand how important sometimes certifications and degrees are, but if a person has the experience, the talent, and the know-how with all that stuff, don't you want them on the team too? Don't you want to at least consider them? And I think that's a more fair way of going about it, is really coming up with the real criteria, because the degree is not the criteria. It's what the degree allows you to do. That is the criteria. The certification is not the criteria. It is what the certification allows you to do. And what you want to be able to do is to find out, because people get certified on stuff all the time. They still don't know what they're doing, right? You want people to have the actual skills, the actual knowledge, the actual transferable skill to get done what they need to get done. And so that's what you want to know, and how you evaluate and test or assess that is more important than do they have the certification. And I think sometimes we get caught up in uh, those kinds of educational criteria that judge people based on their test taking ability more so than their actual ability to get the work done or do the work. And sometimes we make a mistake and we don't respect those who who come by it the hard way, right? They just learn in the trenches, you know. And we need to do better with that because a lot of gray hairs like myself sometimes get passed over on things because yeah, I got a lot of certifications on my mall, but they might not be the ones you want, right? So you have to also think about that kind of stuff. Okay, guys, I had a great time today. This is a longer session than I planned to have today, but I'm glad you were there answering the questions. And thank you guys so very much for showing up. I really appreciate you. Those who have shared and blessed this and moved this for other people, I really thank you for not keeping us a secret. That's how we can bless as many people as we possibly can. And I'm willing to look out for as many as you throw in my direction. That's why we now have this online uh, opportunity where we're used to just stuck in a coffee shop, right? So now we can broadcast all over the world. So if you haven't seen this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're looking at, you can always go back and check it out. So again, thanks my friend for showing up. I really appreciate you. You guys are the best, and I love you so much. All right, we're out of here. Bye bye.